Hey, what's going on YouTube? So I got a little bit sick last week and my throat is still recovering, but I want to get this video out to you guys. So this is going to be different from my last video. In the last video I basically gave an introduction on why to invest. But this video I'm actually going to talk about American Airlines elite status, how to be eligible for these statuses, and I think I know a decent amount about American Airlines because I'm also an elite status holder with American Airlines. So this is platinum status. Let's see if I can focus. Okay, so in American Airlines there are 4 tiers of statuses. The highest status is executive platinum, second is platinum pro, third is platinum, and then fourth is gold. There's actually a 5th tier, actually higher than all of these. It's called concierge key, but it's only open to invitation. So let's start off with the perks of being an elite status member. Let's talk about baggage benefits. So for gold, you're allowed to bring 1 free checked bag. And for platinum and platinum pro, you're allowed to bring 2. And for executive platinum, it's 3. And this is actually quite useful because, for instance, let's say you're flying from San Francisco to LA, and by American Airlines, they would charge the first bag $25, $35 for the second bag. For the third bag, if there was any, would be $150, I believe. And for fourth bag would be $200. But let's say you just travel with 2 bags. Each time you would be paying $60 each one-way flight and $120 for round trip. And if you fly multiple times, it can add up to hundreds of dollars. Let's talk about seats. So for all 4 statuses, you're able to pick where you want to sit. These are basically free options that when you buy the ticket, you can choose where you want to sit. But another benefit is that for golds, you get main cabin extra seat, which is basically a seat that gives 6 extra inches of legroom. But it's only available during check-in. While the other 3 statuses, you have this option as a confirmed seat when you buy the ticket. I want to move on to seat upgrades. So basically, some people think that once you're an elite status member, you always get an upgrade. But no, this is not the case. Basically, the people who buy business or first class tickets always are entitled to their seats. And any remaining seats left over will be given to elite members and people who are not elite members who try to buy for an upgrade. So it goes off a tier system. There is also something called an upgrade window time that is like automatically generated. So I will explain this. So basically, concierge key has the first chance of being upgraded, but the 4 tiers that I told you are generally obtainable for customers are executive platinum all the way to gold. Executive platinum finds out 100 hours before their flight that they got a seat upgrade, and basically they got it if there was an extra seat available. And 72 hours after, like before the flight, Platinum Pro gets their seats if there's availability. And then it keeps going down the system, and then Platinum gets it 48 hours, Gold gets it 24 hours, and then whatever people are left after that, they will get their upgrade. And then they have, the people that don't have elite status, they have to buy these 500-mile upgrades, which is about $40. And I will touch on to this soon. So basically, you can also differentiate different elite statuses by how much they spend into the company. So for example, 2 people who are both platinum statuses, but if one person spends more into the company, then they get a higher ranking on the seat upgrades. And you might be thinking that sometimes a person who's on a lower tier status does not get upgraded. And yes, this is true. People who, for instance, are in the gold status, they generally don't get upgraded that frequently. Actually, a lot of times they don't. Even for me, I actually get upgraded quite a bit, to be honest, because a lot of flights, there might not be a person who's executive platinum or platinum pro. So something else I want to touch up on is 500-mile upgrades. Basically, for gold and platinum members, they are not eligible to get free upgrades on flights over 500 miles, but people who are executive platinum and platinum pro are eligible. And executive platinum also gets these 4 system-wide upgrades. So you might be thinking, what is a system-wide upgrade? So a system-wide upgrade basically tells them many days in advance that they've got an upgrade, and like it's not compared to that 100 72, 48, 24 system that I talked about earlier. Basically for gold and platinum, if they want to get an upgrade on a flight that's over 500 miles, they have to use something called a 500-mile upgrade. Every 12,500 EQMs, which I will explain later, that a gold or a platinum member obtains, they will get 4 500-mile upgrades. And basically how these work is if you're taking a flight that's 1,900 miles in distance, then it will take 2,000 miles of upgrades, because you have to have upgrades on every single part of the flight up to more than you actually flew. So you actually need 4 500-mile upgrades, so about 2,000, in order to get an upgrade ability. And this is complimentary. You get 4 every 12.5k EQMs. And you could just keep building these. And for people who do not have elite status, at least for back 2 years ago when I first qualified, they have to pay $40 each upgrade. Even elite statuses can buy 500-mile upgrades, like the gold and the platinum status people, for $40 each. So each tier also gives you different mileage bonuses. So gold gives you 40% bonus, platinum gives you 60%, platinum pro gives you 80%, and executive platinum gives you 120%. Let me explain this. So basically, every dollar you spend on the base fare and carrier imposed fees, you have to multiply by a certain factor in order to get how many award miles you have. So basically, if you're not an A Advantage Elite status member, but just an A Advantage member, then you have to multiply by 5. If you're gold, 7, platinum, 8, platinum pro, 9, executive platinum, 11. So for example, let's say you buy some flight that has a base fare plus carrier imposed fees of 1,000 in total. So you would get 5,000 award miles for just an A Advantage member. You would get 7,000 with gold, platinum 8,000. This is how they get the 40% and the 60%. And then the platinum pro would give you 80% at 9, and would basically accumulate to 9,000 miles. And then the executive platinum would give you 11,000 miles. This is how they get the 120%. So this is basically very important, because some people think the miles in the air are the award miles. This is not the case. It is based on how many dollars you spend into the company. What makes it more interesting is that how American counts partner airlines. So partner airlines might not negotiate or tell American Airlines how much you bought for the ticket. So American Airlines has a chart that I can show you. So basically, if you go to American Airlines website and then you search through and you find partner airlines, you'll see this page pop up. So basically it lists you a different couple of airlines. So you can click an airline. So for example, you can click British Airways. Then once you're on British Airways, you can keep scrolling, and then you'll find different base miles based on actually how far you traveled, and different EQMs, EQDs, and EQSs awarded by partner airlines. And like I said, I will touch on EQDs, EQMs, and EQSs before the end of this video. So actually I want to explain EQMs, EQDs, and EQSs. This is very important for American Airlines. Every company has their own terminology. After I explain EQMs, EQDs, etc., I will come back to another benefit of American Airlines. The benefit is it's actually a partner with One World, and you get some exclusive benefits when you fly in other airlines. So what is an EQD? So EQD is basically how many dollars you spend on American Airlines flights. So in this case, I'll talk about domestic flights. So if it is the ticket price and then the carrier imposed fees, and that's how much EQDs you spent. It does not include the government taxes that are on top of it. So just take that into notice. So for example, in my American Airlines membership, it requires about 6,000 EQDs, which means that you actually have to spend more than $6,000 in one calendar year in order to get this. And if you're actually interested in how I got this program without paying $6,000, then I will actually make another video about it. So there's kind of some hacks. EQDs for partner airlines is actually a bit more complicated. So you basically take how far you flew and then you times it by a certain percentage that's based on the fare code. And once you do that, then you can get the EQD amount. EQSs for domestic flights are basically a scale of like 1 to 0.5. 1 is basically business class, or up to economy is considered 1, and then basic economy is considered 0.5. And basically segments, EQSs, means that one flight you took. So if you took 2 flights and it was basically a connection, then you could have 2 EQSs if it was economy. And EQMs are basically similar to EQDs for partner airlines. It's based on the mileage flown and also the booking code that reveals a certain percentage you have to use to calculate. So now I'll reveal what you need to get into these programs. So this is a chart that shows how many EQMs, EQDs, and EQSs you need for certain statuses. In order to qualify, you need to meet both the dollar requirement, and then you have an option to meet the segment requirement or the mile requirement. So let's say, for instance, for platinum. So platinum requires 50,000 EQMs. So let's say you can get 50,000 EQMs, but you cannot get 60 segments, EQSs I mean. Then you can still qualify. You just have to meet the dollar requirement, which is 6,000. So this actually is very helpful because, for instance, some people who take really long flights, then they can meet the EQM requirement. But some people who take frequent flights from like, let's say short distances, they can meet the EQS requirements. Also, you might notice from the chart that there are certain statuses with oneworld for each of the American Airlines statuses. So gold is considered oneworld ruby, platinum is considered oneworld sapphire, platinum pro is still sapphire, and executive platinum is considered oneworld emerald. So if you go outside the US or you go fly a partner airline, you have certain benefits that are not available in the US, for instance. So one of the benefits is actually priority check-in. So with oneworld sapphire, for me, I can check into the business class line when I want to deposit my luggage. This is actually very useful because maybe you've noticed in the airport there might be like 60 people in a line. So I could just skip a lot of people and use a priority line. Another thing is I get priority security at select airports. So for instance, in Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, I'm able to skip the line and just take the priority line. Sometimes I feel like it's the same length as TSA TSA pre-check, but I mean, it's an added bonus. It definitely helped me once when I was in Japan. Basically there I was able to go back into the gates in about 5-10 minutes. I just wanted to meet a friend for a bit, hang out, and then I went back into the gates. Another benefit is priority bag delivery. So this is with American Airlines and oneworld. So with Emerald, I actually get my bags ASAP as soon as I arrive at the carousel. So this is actually one of the good features because you can quickly get into the terminal, you can quickly deposit your bags, and when you're done, you can also just get your bags and leave. So this actually saves you a lot of time. If you're a late minute flyer, then sometimes it saves you from missing your flight. Also, something I cannot stress enough is lounge access. So American Airlines is kind of a strange airline. It doesn't allow lounge access when I'm in the States. When I leave the United States, I can use oneworld lounges in many different countries. Ruby does not qualify for this. Another thing I feel that's very important about the oneworld and also the American Airlines Elite status is they have same-day complimentary standbys. And usually when you're Elite status, let's say something happens, like you miss your connection, in these instances you'll be put on standby for a next flight. But because you're in elite status, you're always higher on the standby list than people who are not elite statuses. So generally for me, I don't have to worry about not catching my next flight. And the last benefit that actually helps me is, let's say I go to an international flight and I want to bring luggage, but it's a little bit heavy. So with Emerald and also with Sapphire, you're allowed 15 kilograms of extra baggage weight. This is very useful actually sometimes. So it saved me from like those expensive $100, maybe $200 fees for an overweight bag. There are other benefits. I mean, there's priority boarding, there's like discounts on Admirals Club membership, there's the extra bag allowance. So for instance, like let's say you are in another country and it is not allowing an extra bag without paying a certain money. So like with Emerald and Sapphire, you're able to bring at least one bag. I know in this video there's a lot of information I've talked about and it might seem overwhelming, but I hope it provided some good information on how these flight programs work. And honestly, I feel like when I was searching this, it took hours and hours. So hopefully this would at least give you a good start. And usually the other airlines like Delta or United have similar features as American, just they have different terminology. Also remember that there are 3 alliances. There's Sky Team, there is Star Alliance, and there's One World. And each contribute different airlines. So if, let's say for instance, United, which is with Star Alliance, if you get an elite status with United, you'll have some Star Alliance benefits. If you get an elite status with Delta, you'll have some Sky Team benefits. This is actually different from the type of video I was aiming for, but I realized that there was no way to quickly go over all this information. So I decided to just leave this for anyone who wants to understand airlines, and hopefully it helped to some degree. I think a more interesting video would be how did I obtain American Airlines Platinum status. I hope you like this video. I hope you can share it to anyone who's interested in airline rewards. And I know that this is very technical, so this is going to be a little bit niche for some of my videos.